Everyone's been hyping up the Cambridge Melomania M100. We won't be.
Namaste with DHRME, definitely handling reviews, meaning everything.
Look, these buds check a lot of boxes, and one of those boxes is their noise cancelling performance. Tier S, guys, top of the line when it comes to ANC. Does well with suppressing mid and higher frequencies like voices and bells. And the low end like engine noise too. Very hard to fault them for anything. And if you're in a quiet space, you'll be none the wiser because there's very low white noise in ANC. You can choose between high, medium, and low in the app. There's no adaptive ANC though, even though it's advertised on the site. And the transparency is very good and almost made it into Tier S for us. It lets in the low and mid-range frequencies like voices quite clearly. The reason it stays in Tier A is because of the volume of the environment it lets in. It still suppresses it somewhat. And there's also some audible white noise. We like transparency, like being transparent about battery life claims of companies.
Okay, Kevin, I think Cambridge is being plenty transparent with their numbers. Juice-wise, these are going to leave you plenty satisfied. They advertised 10 hours with ANC on and we got just north of 8 hours on aptX. So you'll likely get lower battery life numbers on aptX lossless and higher if you're using an iPhone or other devices with AAC. There's also wireless charging on board and nothing to fault here in terms of battery life. Also in comfort, nothing to fault here either. The fit is secure and was plenty stable for us during everyday use. Comfort was fine as well, but these are round-shaped tips, so you're going to feel these in your ears. These come with 3 sizes of silicone tips, which are about average, but unlike many buds at this price, you get 2 sizes of foam tips as well. Together, these options cater to a wide range of ear shapes and preferences, but it's not quite the standard 4 sizes of ear tips we are seeing these days.
How do they do for phone calls? Listen for yourself. Alright, this is a mic test on the Cambridge Melomania M100 with cars in the background. Pop, pop, popsicle. Ice, ice, icicle. Test, test, testing. 1, 2, 3. Pop, pop, popsicle. Ice, ice, icicle. Test, test, testing. 1, 2, 3. Alright, here's a mic test of the Cambridge Melomania M100 in windy conditions, and you can see the wind speed on the sleep meter here. Here we go. Pop, pop, popsicle. Ice, ice, icicle. Test, test, testing. 1, 2, 3. Pop, pop, popsicle. Ice, ice, icicle. Test, test, testing. 1, 2, 3. The M100 chooses to let in some background noises and does some processing on my voice as well. My voice is never fully eliminated, but due to the processing, we wouldn't say that they're anything above average in noisy conditions. Also in quiet conditions, I personally noticed when Rowan was using the M100, his voice was modulating and it sounded processed at times and then clear at other times. Very weird. In the wind though, it was a completely different story. Even in wind speeds close to 4 meters per second, my voice never wavered and you could hear a little bit of the wind, but not much. Impressive. The Fachmann controls you get on the M100 are answer hang up, volume, and the ability to change ANC only. No mute or auto answer using the wear sensor. One thing to note here is that we've experienced a few bugs. For example, when you put the buds in after a call starts, it also decides to play music while you're on a phone call. Or the left bud didn't work for listening to the caller. Putting it back in and taking it out of the case didn't help until we returned both buds to the case.
Now the case is slightly large, but it has a premium feel. The hinge feels solid, and even though the whole thing is plastic, tolerances feel tight and it doesn't feel cheap. It's pocketable though, leaning towards the bigger side like we said. The earbuds are rated IPX4, offering basic water resistance, and really you should be fine except if you're moving around in dusty circles. The touch controls are responsive and you're getting a full range of functions from media playback to volume adjustment, ambient mode, and voice assistant access. However, the controls aren't customizable. You can only enable or disable them. While the control scheme works well for us, if it doesn't suit you, there's no way to change it. You can't swap what a single tap does or a double tap does. You can only turn it off.
For the price, you're getting a decent bunch of extras with these earbuds. First, there's an in-ear sensor. We like that it pauses and resumes music when you remove earbuds and wear them again. But there are a couple of quirks. It only pauses your audio if both buds are out of your ears. Maybe Cambridge dreams of a better society where we don't talk to each other with just one bud in our ears? Quirk number 2, it resumes music no matter what the case. You might have paused it or you might have opened the case the next morning. You put it in your ears and it plays music. That is annoying. End of quirk rant. Next, there's sleep mode. This disables touch controls and audible feedback. For gamers, you've got a dedicated game mode with latency under 80 milliseconds. And the audible feedback you hear? Well, it's customizable. You can switch between different languages and tones. You can also set the buds to play in mono, so you can share your music, podcast, and earwax with someone else. There's multi-point connection, but with one caveat. There's no device list in the app, so switching might feel a bit clunky.
Now, there are some nice touches that we also wanted to kind of highlight. We always complain. So there are a couple of things which we like about these, and it leads to a very polished experience. The first thing is voice prompt. So as we said, a number of voice prompts you can choose from. There's a Sadak voice prompt, which is kind of fun, which instead of sounding like this,
noise cancelling,
will sound like this.
Noise cancelling.
And the name of the buds, I mean, Melomania. It means an inordinate liking for music or melody. And thank you, Cambridge, for using a good name for a product. I mean, it's so much better than the Pods and the Pros and the Airs of the world. All right, the name is good. Did we take a liking for the music on these earbuds?
Let's get a couple of specs out of the way first. There's Bluetooth 5.3 connectivity and it supports Snapdragon's range of codecs. You will need a phone that supports that though. On an iPhone, you'll be stuck with AAC, and on phones like Samsung, you'll be capped at aptX. Hardware-wise, 10mm dynamic drivers with recycled neodymium magnets. You're getting Class AB amplification similar to that in Cambridge Audio's hi-fi amplifiers. How did it all translate to sound though?
Now, I was really disappointed by how these sounded. I expected a special sound after all the reviews I was reading, and I also have a Cambridge audio system and love how my amp and speakers sound. The tuning is a huge problem for me. I thought that the bass was a little too forward and a little too loose for my liking, and the higher notes never quite sang. Guitars sink into the background and the kick drum and bass guitars take over in something like Rage Against the Machine's classic Killing in the Name Of. Instead of letting the guitars, grate and the voice shine, when using the foam tips, the sound became even darker, and not just that, it was overall quite a bit muddled. So I was honestly surprised that these have such great ratings by most reviewers. Maybe it's just the tuning though. So how does the EQ perform? Well, to start off with, the presets to me, except the blues one to some extent, were unusable. Nothing seemed to fix the tuning of these earbuds. The 7-band EQ, however, was responsive, and after playing with it for a while, I got to a sound I liked. These sound much better with this EQ preset for me, and also kind of highlights the problems I was having with it having too much bass and too little of the mid and high end. I also tried tweaking it like this for getting a bit more brightness. It really depends on the tracks you're kind of working with. But yeah, it wasn't just my ears either. I compared it with other buds to be sure, and the default tuning, it does suck. If you're up to some tweaking around, these can sound fairly good, but a shame about how they sound out of the box.
So what's our take? Well, the best thing about these buds is the price. Cambridge is a well-known brand, and this is a polished product in many ways. The packaging, the design, the voice prompts, and the app. However, at the original price of $219, it's a no-go for us. But at the new discounted price of $119, these are definitely worth considering. We really like the comfort, design, touch controls, battery life, active noise cancelling and transparency, and those are a lot of important things. If you're okay with putting up with the in-ear sensor issues, unstable microphones, and with tweaking the sound to get the best out of these, then they're definitely worth getting.
And we definitely got these with our own money because so many of you asked for it. Thanks to our patrons and YouTube members for making these kinds of videos possible. If you want to support us, then check out the link in the description. And if you can't support us financially, then a sub to the channel would be awesome. Maybe you watch the content but haven't actually hit sub. Now would be a good time to do so. A special thanks to our Popsicle tier and a big shout out to our Tested tier supporters here. And an extra special thanks to our highest tier, the Fuck One tier. Cheers, Gamma Panda and Paula. You've been a measured melomaniac, and we've been DHRME. Meanwhile, I can have a sip of coffee.